Hello everyone, my name is Madison Backus, and I'm so excited to share with you the importance of implementing family-friendly policies in the workplace. So what are family-friendly work policies? Well, as the United States' typical work week seems to become increasingly longer and longer, caregivers may become exasperated trying to balance work life and family life. As frustration builds, caregivers become increasingly stressed, which is shown to negatively impact their work life. According to the Health and Safety Executive, problems outside of work can affect a person's ability to perform effectively while at work. Stressors at home can affect those at work and vice versa. In order to get all employees working effectively and productively, it is up to the employers to find a solution to reduce some of the stress of the employees who are struggling to create a balance between work and caregiving duties at home. Fortunately, finding solutions to this problem does not only benefit the employee, but it will benefit the employer as well. So it's not just workers with children that benefit from these types of policies. Workers who caregive for elderly people also benefit from these types of policies if maybe they caregive for their parents or their grandparents. Even people who have pets, sometimes pets can be really demanding as well, so these types of policies can help care for your pets better. And these policies even benefit everyone in the aspect of if you have a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment or your children do, you can attend those without having to miss out on work. So why is what I'm talking about really important? Well, in 2016, 95.6% of employed fathers worked full-time, and 76.3% of employed mothers worked full-time. And more than 1 in 6 Americans working full or part-time report assisting with the care of an elderly or disabled family member, relative, or friend. So as you can see, majority of the workforce has some kind of caregiving responsibility at home, whether it be a child or an elderly. So because of that, 70% of working caregivers report they suffer work-related difficulties due to their dual roles. 39% of caregivers actually leave their job to have more time to care for those loved ones. And only 53% of employers offer flexible work hours, which is why 34% of people leave their job because they don't have the opportunity for the flexible work hours. So what are the benefits of having a family-friendly workplace? Well, studies show that if these policies are in place, employees are more productive at work, employees feel as though they have more control over their lives, employees have less stress, which leads to better overall health, and employees create stronger family bonds. On the employer's aspect, employers have more benefits to offer new job candidates, and employees have a lower employee turnover rate. So let's get into the different types of policies that workplaces can implement. So one of them is called flex time. So this is basically when employees have the freedom to create their own work schedules. So I actually worked for an organization called NCA Comp that did implement flex time while I was there. So what it was you had to come in any time in the morning between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. And then once you got there, you had to stay 8 hours for your shift. So that is a huge advantage for the employee aspect. For example, if you hit the snooze button and you sleep in a little too late, you don't have to worry about being late to work because you can come in anytime between that period. Also in places like Buffalo, it snows a lot, so if there's any weather-related incidents in the morning, you don't have to worry about racing the clock, speeding on the ice and the snow to get to work because you have that time frame. And same thing with traffic accidents. It can slow down the traffic in the morning. You're not stressed out honking your horn trying to get to work on time at 8 o'clock on the dot because you have that, again, time frame. It's also good for doctor's appointments, which anyone can take advantage of, not just people with children. So if you have a doctor's appointment, you can schedule it early in the morning and then come in afterwards. And you don't have to worry about calling your boss to come in late or having to tell your boss you need to leave early. You just have to come in earlier in the morning so you can leave early for your doctor's appointment. Flex time is even good for something as simple as your daughter or son has a soccer game in the evening and you want to be there, so you just get to work earlier so you can leave earlier. Unfortunately, I think that flex time offers disadvantages for the employer aspect. So for example, because of that unknown time frame that people can come in the morning, the employer might find it difficult to keep track of the employees. And if they need them for paperwork or a meeting or something in the morning, it can be a problem if they're not there yet. It can also be a problem for the employer if everybody shows up at 7 a.m. and your organization is open until 6 p.m. Nobody's going to be there from 5 to 6. So how does the organization stay open? So the employer has to find a way to make sure, even though there's flex time, there's somebody in the office at all business hours. So another type of policy an employer can implement is called job sharing. So job sharing is when two employees work part-time and together they share a full-time position. So for example, one person could come in 5 days a week and work 9 to 12, and then the second person could come in 5 days a week, 12 to 5. Or you could work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the other person works Thursday, Friday. It just kind of depends on what policy, the rules for the policy are. So some employee advantages for this is that you'll be able to spend more time attending to your caregiving duties at home. So if you have a child who is in daycare, that means less money and less days you have to send that child to daycare because you can come home and watch them yourself. There's a lot of employer advantages for this policy, like the employer doesn't have to pay for the full-time benefits for those individuals because they're each only working the part-time hours. So they don't have to pay out for health insurance and things like that. And also, the employer might be happy because the employees are making less mistakes. This is because there's two people working one job, so they're kind of like checking and balancing each other in a way, so less mistakes will come out of that result. So another type of policy that an employer can implement is called telecommuting. This is when an employee has the opportunity to work from home. So there's a lot of employee advantages to telecommuting. So one of them is they save money on childcare, nursing homes, or even pet kennels because you're able to stay home and care for your children, care for your elderly, and care for your pets. You're also saving money on miles and gas for your car because you're not having to transport it back and forth to the office every day. There's also a chance that you will call in sick less often. If you wake up and you're not feeling good and you just kind of want to stay home in your pajamas, you can do that and still work because you don't have to go into the office and get other people sick. But with telecommuting, I think the employer has a few disadvantages. One being the aspect that there's little to no interaction face-to-face with your employees because they're not in the office and you don't get to talk to them physically. You can only call them on the phone or do it through email. An employer also has to, I think, worry about productivity. Are their employees actually working while they're at home? Or are they doing their dishes? Or are they watching TV? You know, what are they actually doing? And are they getting their work done? So another thing that employers could do is focus on childcare. So what I'm talking about is if the employer were to offer on-site daycare programs or even giving the option to reimburse all or some of the daycare payments that employees make, because daycare payments it's extremely expensive. So some advantages for the employee is that they can save money on childcare if the employer chooses to reimburse or even pay for the daycare payments. And if there is an on-site daycare, it's convenient for the employee. They don't have to go out of their way to drop their child off at daycare before work because the daycare is at work. It's also good because the employee can check up on the child during the day if the daycare is right on site at their work. The only problem for the employer is that offering on-site daycare programs can be extremely expensive, and smaller companies won't be able to afford it. And even the idea of reimbursing or paying for childcare payments is also going to be a heavy expense for the employer. So all in all, these types of policies like flex time, job sharing, telecommuting, and childcare are really, really important for the workplace if we want to have some type of synergy between the employee and the employer. So as the employer, it's really important that we try to implement these policies so we can have all of our employees working their best. And for the employee, it is really important that if we are at an organization that doesn't offer these types of policies, it would be an amazing thing to propose to your employer what you can do and why it is important.